Hello, my name's Tim, and I have Parkinson's disease. My last video, I had mentioned that rather than talk about Parkinson's and my journey, this video is gonna be about when I was in the Air Force. So if you want to watch a little story or a video about 60 years ago when I was in the Air Force, go ahead and watch this. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. I'll take a second and mention that with my Parkinson's disease, right now, the only real issue I have is trying to get my dyskinesia to lessen, not be so difficult. So I'm playing with a dose, timing, and amounts. So anyway, here we go with 60 years ago, I was in the Air Force, stationed at Forbes Air Force Base. If you don't know anything about Forbes Air Force Base, you may be thinking, well, where in the world is Forbes Air Force Base? Well, I'll show you. It's in the United States, so it's not overseas. In fact, it's in Kansas. It's just south of Topeka, Kansas. Let's zoom in on Forbes Air Force Base. Now, since I'm going to give you a tour of a base that I haven't been to in, 50, 60 years, what I want to do first is kind of show you here what I'm going to do, and then we'll go ahead and do it. Okay, let's get sort of a feel for what the tour is going to be. So looking at this map, going up, that's north, and right through the middle of the base is Topeka Boulevard. That used to be US 75, but now you can see US 75 is off to the left, so it's not going through the middle of the base anymore. So if you look at this, I said it's a city. Well, it is kind of like a city. If you look to the left, lower left, you see it looks like a bunch of houses. That's K-Park housing. So they have houses that are built, regular houses, for the airmen, some airmen. And you have a golf course. You'll find just about anything that you would normally find in a small city. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is I'll show you how the tour is going to go. First of all, my AFSC was electrician, MOS, whatever you want to call it. But since I was an electrician, I worked all over the base. I worked everywhere. If you are working on engines, you might work in a hangar up at the flight line, and that's where you worked. But since I was an electrician, I was responsible for anything electrical pretty much. Well, I worked all over the place. As an example, K-Part, somebody has a bad garbage disposal, I fixed it or replaced it. Street lights, I had to fix the street lights. Just all sorts of things. Whatever, if it was electrical, that was my job. So we're going to go all over the base. Oh, another way that I put this together so we can see where we're at, and when I say where we're at, I mean today or back in the 1960s. So if we're going to go back in time, I have it set up where you'll see a doorway open and then we go back in time. And then a ripple to come back to the present. Okay, here we go. There was a door opening. We are now in the past. If you look at this, and we are going to get a little closer so we can see where we're going. But now there's buildings where there weren't any buildings. Okay, so where we're going to go is, you can see Topeka Boulevard kind of in the middle. We're going to be heading north on that road. And then the main gate, we're going to turn right into the main gate. We're going to go past the main gate, turn left. We're going to go down to where my barracks is. I'll show you where my barracks is. Then we'll turn around, come back, and we're going to go up. It's a one-way street. If you go up to the regional airport, and then you come around and you come back, it's all one way. So that's the direction we're going to take. And I'll point out a few things on our way. Send out a few spots where we might go. Now, we're going to be driving around in 2026. So when we get to a point of interest, if I have some pictures from the 60s, well, at that point, I'll show you some pictures of the base back in the 1960s. I'll start the tour with a car like the one I had in the 60s, but I think I'm actually going to do the tour with an electric car. It's quiet. Okay, we're headed north on Topeka Boulevard towards the Forbes main gate. When we get there, we're going to turn to the right. Okay, when I turn right, we'll be at the main gate at Forbes Air Force Base. There we go. And this is Forbes, the entrance. Okay, we just turned right, and here is the main gate. This is just the way I remember it back in 1965 when I first arrived at Forbes. I remember the taxi driver dropping me off here at the gate, and then the airman looking at my orders, and the headquarters for the 838th was right across the street. So we went over there, and they went ahead and they said, well, let's go to the barracks. So they took me to the barracks. And since this tour is starting now, why don't we just drive on over to where my barracks used to be? But we're going to go back in today's time frame to do that. So once we pass the gate, we just turn to the left and go down the road till we get to where my barracks is. And I'll show you where that is. And there's my home for a little over 3 years on the left, where the car is parked. This is building 809, and to the right you can see another building, that's 810. And then on the other side of where I'm at is 808. And then the other side of 808 was Chow Hall, or Mess Hall, whatever you want to call it. Number one, Chow Hall number one. They had like 3 or 4 of them. But I was on the lower floor. If you go in that door down below and you walk down to room number 9 on the right, and you walk in there, that was my room. Let's just walk on down the hall, go into the room number 9, and I'm on the other side of the door. This is me in my barracks after a hard day's work. Oh, I see I only have one stripe. This must be in 1965. Rather than open bay barracks like I had back in basic training, here at Forbes, we had rooms, and we would share with other airmen. Maybe 1, 2, 3, or there'd be 4 of us total, possibly. Standing here next to me is one of my roommates, Bill Oldages. Here's my other roommate, Dave Bradshaw. Actually, Dave and Bill were my roommate for probably about 3 years. We came in to the barracks on the west side, facing Topeka Boulevard. But if you go out the other end, then it would look something like this. Oh, this looks so familiar. I can remember when I was living at Forbes and going out the back door, and I can see the church over there. That's no longer there. There was a Catholic and a Protestant, and you can see the tower where there's a beacon, rotating beacon. Since this is a military base, it's a rotating split white-green light. And since I was an electrician, well, I've had to change that light before, and in the middle of the winter when it's icy cold. You can't really see the post office from the back of my barracks. However, we'll zoom in where you see 3 arrows. The other side of that building, that's where the post office is. Now, while I've been at Forbes for over 3 years, I only received 2 pieces of mail from home. One, you can see here the envelope. I called my mother and I said, the Air Force wants a copy of my birth certificate. So
she mailed me a copy of this, which is what a hospital sent. They wanted the government copy, the registered copy. So I got that a little bit later. We came down to my barracks from the direction of the main gate. So we're going back the same direction. We're going to go up back towards the main gate and then head toward the flight line. Okay, so we're on our way. I'm driving crazy. Once we get up to the main gate area, we'll make a left. It's a one-way. There, we made our left. Now we're going up towards the regional airport. That's what it is here today, because this is 2026. We are, okay, we're going to come up to a church here pretty quick. We're going to turn left. This is a Catholic church. You can't see this from the back of my barracks. It's the Protestant church is the other end of the street. There's something going on, but not here. Maybe at the Protestant church at the other end of the road, we'll see that there's something going on. Okay, I see it's the Protestant church. They've got something going on. Okay, let's go back to the direction where we came in and then head back up towards the regional airport. Okay, coming up, we're going to turn left and then we'll be heading back up towards the airport. Whoops, I almost got off the road. I better watch what I'm doing. Yeah, okay. Boy, I'm driving crazy. Well, I'm getting up. Okay, we're coming up to the regional airport. It's right in front of us. So we're going to loop around. We're up at the flight line. I just remembered something. I was an electrician, and one of the jobs that I had to go to the sanitation plant. What was happening, no one could flush their toilets. Now, I'm not a plumber, but the macerator wasn't working right. So I had to fix the macerator, which is a machine that chops up human solid waste. Oh, I got to watch the road. We're coming up on the Forbes Theater, Forbes Air Force Base Theater. So anyway, here, okay, what we do is look to the left, and there it is, Forbes Air Force Base Theater. You can see all kinds of movies there. About a block down the street, on the other side of the street, on the right, there at the corner, there was a library and a music room. They had a place where you can play the guitars in a studio and keep it quiet for the library. Okay, we're off again. And we're coming up to the Stratoline Service Club. We're going to turn right. I spent a lot of time at this service club. In here, they had pianos, they had pool tables, they even had a stage. I had a band. I think we're called the Critters or something. Okay, now we're back in time. This is the way I remember the service club. You can see the entrance. And in there, you can read books, you can look at the TV, relax. You can play pool if you want to. There's a young lady playing pool. This is a photo of my band playing at the Stratoline Club. We played there actually quite a few times for free for the Air Force. Let me introduce you to the band. Of course, the drummer, we went through a lot of drummers. I don't even see the drummer here in the picture. But on the left, we have Chuck Hand. He played the bass. In the middle, that was me. I played lead guitar. And on the other side of me was the rhythm guitar player, Bill, and I don't remember his last name. Maybe somebody will see this picture and recognize Bill. Now, just 2 or 3 months after this photo was taken, I heard that he went to Vietnam, and I heard that he was killed in action. I hope somebody recognizes him, and they can tell me that did not happen. I don't know. Okay, some of you may be asking, where are we? On the base. So I'm going to show you this, the next leg of the trip, from where we are now at the service club to where I work. Okay, here's the service club. So we're going to go back out to where we came in and head down towards the main gate and then turn right, go by my barracks. So when we're at my barracks, well, I'll just turn, you can see where it was, and then I'm going to keep going because this is where the bus would pick us up. And go down to University, and now we're going to turn left, and we're going to go through a gate. and we'll end up crossing Topeka Boulevard and going down. Now this road, Baker Street, had three old Victorian houses, and they were on the base. One of the houses, I think it was a major or lieutenant colonel, I can't remember, but his son wanted to learn how to play the guitar. So I gave his son guitar lessons. Now we just go down a couple more buildings, and then we're at the electric shop. That's where my work was. Okay, we're back in 2026, back in today's time frame. So we got to head back to the street we came in on, turn to the right. We're going to go and turn to the right again because we're going to go by my barracks. Now the reason we're going to go by the barracks and keep going on the same street, this is where I would pick up the bus to go to work every day. The bus would pick us up and it would take us to the chow hall, pick us up, take us to work, pick us up, bring us back to the barracks. So I'll stop here where the barracks was, but you already saw that. Okay, now on the left, you might see a power substation. There's a substation. So I'm going to stop up here. We'll turn, okay, that's where the barracks was. We're not going to go through that again. We're going to keep going the same direction. This is where the bus would pick us up, and it would take us to the end of the street. I think it's called University. Now that's in, oh, here's the NCO club. Well, it's not there, but it's gone. That's where the NCO club was. Okay, let's carry on, go to where my work is. Okay, we're going to go towards Topeka Boulevard. We have to go back in time. There we go, 1965. We were getting off of the base before we hit Topeka Boulevard. Okay, now we're going across Topeka Boulevard. We're heading down, I have no idea what the street is, but this is where the bus would take me to work. Okay, this old dirt road, that's Baker Street. And that's where those three Victorian houses were. Back there is where I gave guitar lessons. And let's finish going a couple of buildings down, and then we will be at my work. We're almost there, and there it is. Building 2704, the 838th Civil Engineering Electric Shop. I'd like to introduce you to the military and civilian electricians that I worked with. First of all, Bob Crow. I actually met Bob at the induction center in Los Angeles. So we went in together. In fact, Bob was with me when I failed the physical the first time. He had to weigh 110 pounds. I weighed 103. So he and I went to the farmer's market. I ate a whole bunch of bananas and went back, got weighed enough, and we're on our way to Lackland Air Force Base. After Lackland, we both got our orders for Forbes Air Force Base, and we spent 3 and some odd years at Forbes. We both got out at the same time. And then there's Gene Kishpaw. You can see here he got married back in, I think, around 67. They've been married for a long time. We're still together, living in New Jersey. And then there's Ben Eden. This is from basic training. So we went to basic training, went to Forbes. He was also in my high school class. And then we have Ed Crabtree. We called him the Kid, basically because he was only 17 years old when he joined the Air Force. About 15 years ago, 4 of us got together again, and that was left to right. You can see Bob Crow, myself, Gene Kishpaw, and Eddie Crabtree. Next, I'd like to introduce you to the civilian electricians that I worked with. And we're going to start off with Kirby Snyder. Before Kirby started working for Forbes Air Force Base, I think he worked for the Kansas Power and Light. The only picture I could find of Kirby was an old high school picture, I think from like 1925 or something. Now here is a civilian electrician that I really admired, Earl Goodrich. I worked with him quite a few times. I learned an awful lot from him. We'd go to a job, he'd walk into a room or wherever we're at, maybe put up some conduit, half-inch conduit. He'd just look around. I know he did measure, but it seemed like he didn't measure or anything. He just looked, and he bent, and all of a sudden, he said, "Hey, put it up." I'd put it up there, and everything fit perfectly. Another civilian we worked with was Frank DeLong. I think he had also worked with Kansas Power and Light before working at Forbes. Well, that concludes my tour of Forbes Air Force Base. But then You know, some people might wonder, well, where does the combat support come into play? And while I was at Forbes, it really didn't show up. But once I got out of the service, active duty, I went into the reserves 10 years later. Now here's a document talking about going into the reserves, 452nd Air Refueling Wing at Marchfield in California. This is where I learned about the combat support. Okay, we were a squadron of electricians, carpenters, plumbers, you name it. So what we would do if we had to do combat support, we would go to some location in the world that needed a temporary base or a base built real fast. So that was our job. And part of the job, if it was in a combat zone, then we were learning how to, some of us would be around the perimeter guarding while the other half of us is working, building a temporary base. Now, they wouldn't let us take pictures of anything, so what I'm going to do is just tell you one story of what happened with me while playing war games at Tyndall Air Force Base. Now, I do have just a couple of pictures of some of us that were from the 452nd Air Refueling Wing. Now, besides being electricians, plumbers, that sort of thing, we were set up into 4-man fire teams. There'd be a leader, 2 riflemen, and a machine gunner. I remember Sergeant Brooks was our leader, and I remember I was a machine gunner. We were walking around the perimeter, and then we heard a 50 caliber machine gun shooting, coming from the jungle. So we all hit the deck, and then I heard somebody yell, "Hey, Brooks, get your head down." So he put his head down. Then his feet would go up. Then they say, "Hey, Brooks, get your feet down." Then his head would come up. Okay, we are weekend warriors that are really out of shape. Not to mention Toot Toot Bang Bang. I can't remember his name, but we called him Toot Toot Bang Bang because while he was guarding around the perimeter, you're supposed to know the password. So you blow a whistle twice. You say, "What's the password?" "Okay, you're fine. Come on by." But this guy, he'd say, "Bang, bang," and then he'd say, "What's the password?" A little bit late. Here's some photos of some of the people I worked at Tyndall Air Force Base. Oh, there's the captain. They're working on some plans or something. There's the lieutenant. He was a civil engineer. And we did actually work there. We helped some construction they needed at Tyndall Air Force Base. We found a watermelon patch. We came back when the flag was coming down. So remember, always set down the watermelons before you salute. You can't hold 2 watermelons and salute at the same time.